This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. As they put COVID and the chip shortage behind them, automakers thought that 2024 would be the year when things sort of got back to normal. But it's not turning out that way. Earlier this week, Tesla reported a disastrous quarter. Yesterday, we reported that Stellantis, Renault, Nissan, and Ford had sharp drops in earnings. And today, we can add Mercedes-Benz to the list. It sold just over 600,000 cars and vans in the last 3 months, down 5.5% from last year. Revenue dropped 4% to 37 billion euros, and its operating profit plummeted 19% to 4 billion euros. While Mercedes-Benz vans delivered a higher profit, its passenger cars, including electrics and PHEVs, were down. Mercedes also blames a tough situation in China for the drop in its earnings. Earlier this week, we reported that GM is giving up on its Cruise robotaxi called the Origin. What most people don't know is that vehicle was already fully tooled up, and GM actually built dozens and dozens of them. Walking away from that investment was costly. GM had to take a $600 million charge just to write it off. GM CEO Mary Barra blamed regulatory uncertainty. Since the Origin doesn't have a steering wheel or other safety components like turn signal stalks, it doesn't meet FMVSS regulations or federal motor vehicle safety standards. She says GM needs a legislative change before the Origin can be legal. We wonder if Tesla, Waymo, or Zoox believe that their robotaxis are illegal, but we're willing to bet they do not. By the way, we want to thank Autoline Daily viewer Nick Thomas for sending us these pictures of Origins parked outside of a GM facility. And speaking of GM, is it going to have to start closing plants in China? In 2017, GM sold 4 million vehicles. Last year, that was 2.1 million, and this year, sales continue to drop in China. We figure GM has at least 4 assembly plants too many in China. Mary Barra is reluctant to say what they will do because those plants are joint ventures with SAIC, which is a state-owned car company. And with China's economy sputtering right now, it would be highly embarrassing to the government if GM and SAIC started announcing plant closings. But one thing's for sure, GM has no intention of abandoning the Chinese market. Barra points out that it's a significant export hub for GM to other markets in South America and Central Asia, and she sees a lot of opportunity with its Durant Guild retail brand that sells high-end vehicles in China like Suburbans and Corvettes that are imported from the US. As we reported yesterday, Stellantis had a rough first half of the year with a 10% drop in sales and a 40% decrease in operating profit. And most of the losses came from North America, which had been the most profitable part of the company. So, Stellantis says it will cut production in North America this quarter to get more in line with demand, and it will also cut vehicle prices. It's planning 500 million euros in savings across all of its operations in the second half of the year. And if some of its 14 brands don't start performing better, Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares says it's ready to start dumping them. During the company's first half earnings call, Tavares said, quote, "If they don't make money, we'll shut them down. We cannot afford brands that do not make money. We think Chrysler and Maserati are two obvious choices to get rid of since their sales are so small. But what do you think? What brands do you think are on the chopping block?"
Trusting tires designed for the long haul. Because you'll always go the distance. For friends. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Alenza tires with an 80,000-mile limited warranty.
A split-window Corvette is back for the first time since 1963. Chevy revealed the all-new ZR1 version of the Vette, which it claims has the most powerful V8 ever produced in America by an automaker. That engine is a twin-turbo version of the 5.5-liter flat-plane crank V8 found in the Z06. But instead of producing 670 horsepower, it generates over 1,050 horsepower and nearly 830 pound-feet of torque. It dubbed it the LT7 and made changes to the heads, valve train, intake system, cooling, and more to make and handle all that extra power. The ZR1's 8-speed dual-clutch trans and braking system also had to go through upgrades. In fact, the 15.7-inch carbon ceramic rotors are the largest front brakes ever put on a Corvette. Magnetic ride control dampers and a host of aerodynamic improvements are standard as well on the ZR1. But for those that want a little bit more, there's the ZTK package. It adds more aggressive aero, including a big rear wing and underbody panels, different suspension tuning that comes with stiffer springs, and Michelin performance tires. Chevy claims the ZR1 will do over 215 miles an hour, which is 346 kilometers an hour, and it will run the quarter mile in under 10 seconds. It will be built in Kentucky, and production starts sometime next year. China wants to get old, less environmentally friendly vehicles off of its roads, so it's boosting subsidies for a Cash for Clunkers-like program. Car buyers who scrap their old car for a new energy vehicle now get a $2,800 incentive, double what it was before. Subsidies for buying a new ICE vehicle are now $2,100, also double. And there's incentives to upgrade old commercial vehicles, agricultural equipment, and buses as well. The vehicle incentives are part of a larger $41 billion program to upgrade large-scale industrial equipment and other consumer products in China. More and more Chinese automakers are setting up shop in Europe to avoid tariffs on imported EVs. The EU is trying to prevent a wave of cheap Chinese EVs from flooding the market and hurting European brands. But while they don't want imported EVs, several European countries are luring Chinese EV makers to build vehicles there. Chery will soon start operations in Spain. Leapmotor is assembling vehicles at a Stellantis plant in Poland. BYD is planning factories in Hungary and Turkey. And SAIC and Zeekr are also looking for production locations in Europe. This will allow them to avoid the import tariff on Chinese EVs, which is up to 48%. EVs from legacy automakers outperform Tesla, according to J.D. Power's Appeal study. It ranks owner satisfaction of new vehicle design and performance based on a 1,000-point scale. And this year, non-Tesla EVs had a satisfaction rating of 877, which is an all-time high, and also beat Tesla's score of 870. And if Rivian had met J.D. Power's criteria for the study, it would have come out on top of everybody else, no matter the powertrain type, with a score of 900. The average score for a luxury vehicle, regardless of powertrain, was 870, and it was 838 for mass market cars. J.D. Power says improved battery range and better interiors is why other automakers passed up Tesla. But speaking of Tesla, it says if you're using a wet rag on the charging cable to speed up the charging rate, to stop doing it. It has nothing to do with water getting between the plug and connector. Rather, it says it can interfere with the temperature monitoring system, increasing the risk of overheating and damage, and it can make it harder for the system to determine if there's actually a problem with the charging. But that brings us to the end of this show and this week. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. MEDC, where Michigan businesses are powering the future of mobility. And by Tejan Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility.
Michigan is leading the charge in mobility and innovation. and I can't think of a better state to be in.
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Intrepid's Neovi Pi, allowing automotive engineers to interface, capture, and monitor vehicle data using Raspberry Pi. As a matter of fact, it's the automotive industry's first robust platform for Raspberry Pi, featuring Intrepid CAN-FD technology and Raspberry Pi Compute Module. The Neovi Pi is designed for automotive environments, allowing use with relative power ranges and applications. In addition, the Neovi Pi enables you to use the Raspberry Pi for compute while avoiding additional development to adapt to network environments. That makes the Neovi Pi powerful enough to solve your vehicle network problems, yet small enough to fit in your backpack. One of many Intrepid tools used for developing zonal architecture and software-defined vehicles.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.